good evening. Uh, I, we are a group here who have worked on the issue of water privatization in Delhi in the last 2 years. And therefore, what I'm going to present to you, I'll try to modify to reflect the theme of this workshop. But it's essentially a presentation of the kind of issues and challenges we have addressed while working on the issue of water privatization. And since this is a group which has been formed as a citizens group, we have Justice Rajinder Sachar as the president in this of this group, and two of my members are there. Deepak Dholakia is the secretary, and Mr. Tiwari is a member of the executive committee. So we have about 15 members in this group, and with our modest resources and our own knowledge, we've been working on this issue. Some of the details, so what we've primarily used this opportunity to also gather and update our positions on this issue of water privatization in Delhi. So we see the value of our work beyond the workshop in terms of what we are doing on the ground. So I'll start with the I didn't anticipate that this would be primarily an international audience. So therefore, just to give you a background of Delhi and its water context, like any other large city in Delhi, we are fed by 4 rivers which give water to Delhi, plus the groundwater use. But that's a longer story of how the water is sourced in Delhi. Coming to the issue of privatization, we've had a failed water privatization in 2004-05. It didn't work out for various reasons, and that's also another story. Then what happened was that the DJB, is the Delhi Jal Board, the Delhi Water Utility, raised its tariffs by about 350% when you calculate on a household usage rate. So this is not an overall increase, but we did this estimate based on about 25 kiloliter of water which is used by a family. Then what was the kind of change which happened? So the tariff rate was increased, and it was also, there was also an inbuilt 10% per annum increase, which was, written in the government order itself. It doesn't happen in any other system, but here it was provided as part of the tariff notification. And then we have these 3 PPP projects in 3 parts of Delhi. They were called pilot projects by the government. I don't have a map to show you where they are located, but the Malviya Nagar one is in South Delhi, and it represents one of the more prosperous regions of Delhi with and we'll share those details with you. Nangloi refers to an outer Delhi, more or less like a semi-rural, semi-urban settlement. And Mehrauli and Vasant Vihar are again the more urban, better off parts of South Delhi. So this is how these projects, this is the context in which the privatization has happened, and lessons from various other PPP projects in India in the last 2-3 years have been used to improve, the government has used them to initiate the PPP projects in Delhi. This is kind of what Deepak calls it as a PPP at a glance. If you see the 3 areas on the left, the 3 companies which have been registered, and then the major stakeholders in the companies, the Indian partner, the contract, the type of contract which is issued, and the capital investment. You could have various other columns, but if you see in this, 2 out of the 3 contracts, the Nangloi and the Malviya Nagar, are the 24/7 water supply contracts, and the Mehrauli Vasant Vihar, the middle one, is for service improvement. The capital investment varies in all of these, and Veolia, Suez are the lead agencies in 2 of them. And in the third one also there is an Israeli company which is a minor stakeholder. But its responsibility is to give all the technical inputs. So therefore I couldn't put it in the Indian partner position, but there it is an Israeli company which is there. All the contracts are for about 12 to 15 years duration. Private operator is expected to make 30% of the investment. Billing is managed by the private operator, but the private operator is not collecting the money. So unlike the other PPP lessons learned in India, where the private operator was also billing and collecting the revenues, the private operator has been protected in some way and from this act of collecting the money. They generate the bills, but the money is paid by the consumers into an account of the Delhi Jal Board. A private operator gets paid in this case in two ways. One is called a net operator rate, which is volumetric, and the other is a management fees in one instance where it's service provision. And then there are other incentives to the private operator. Now if you look at the key features of the contracts, there is Delhi Jal Board, which is, and if this becomes a norm in the years to come, if the 3 private PPP projects become a norm, then the role of Delhi Jal Board would be managing many O&M contracts in Delhi. This is a background of what we have just, the service improvement. The private operator actually gets a return on investment plus recovery of investment, and there is fee for services. So the 24/7 equity factors, when okay, I'll come to this issue of how we have dealt with it. When we worked on this issue, we came out with a booklet first, ourselves trying to assess whether there was a shortage of water in Delhi or not. What was the justifications given by the government to go into the PPP contracts, and what questions need to be answered in this process. And this issue of equity came up in our concern that time, that the private operator would end up supplying my water to consumers who could pay more, and especially if it is volumetric. So we had raised these concerns, and we found that, and we had 2 sets of meetings. One we had with the Chief Minister and the Delhi Jal Board executives. Then we had another meeting with the Delhi Jal Board Chief Executive and staff, where we repeatedly raised this issue of equity, whether that has been factored into the contracts. And they told us 24/7 means automatically everybody gets water. So don't ask this question, it will be assured. But we know, like in Delhi also, right now, this summer there is a surplus power. The private utilities have surplus power, and yet there are shortages in supply. Some certain areas are not getting electricity, some are. So there is no automatic clause there. Then there are other key provisions are that there is free and cheap water supply, and the electricity cost is also covered. Briefly, just to give you an overview of the way Malviya Nagar contract, PPP contract works. Always this devil is in the details. So when we looked at the detailed project reports, DPRs as they are called here, it shows that 80% of the connections in this part of Delhi fall actually in a higher slab. 80%, which is the double the domestic slab, because this is called a mixed category. So automatically your billing is higher. Secondly, when the tariffs were revised, the revised tariffs also doubled the collection revenues. And the DJB cost of water is actually just about half the revenues which they are getting. So already this is like a gold-plated public sector undertaking which is being put up for sale. So it's already running in huge surplus, and this will be showcased as a success story once this rolls out, because it will start generating surplus from day one. The net operator rate of Suez, the operator, private operator, is being paid 10.87 rupees per kiloliter, which is actually higher than the current cost at which the Delhi Jal Board is supplying water. So that's how the details we were able to, because the team of the Delhi Jal Board had all their experts and consultants, and they told us, what is your problem? This is an O&M contract. Anyway, we are giving, Delhi Jal Board does not execute all the civil engineering works. They do it by contractors. We get the work done by contractors where we have to deal with 100. Now we'll have one. So what is your problem? There is no change in policy. There is no change in operations. This is actually more efficient. And in our second meeting, actually they told us that the net operator rate would be less than the DJB cost. So therefore we actually had to get down to see actually what they are saying. Let's take it at face value. Maybe they're right. They're saying this and justifying it. So then when you look at these details, then this emerges. So the logic of PPP, these questions are that if an area is already generating surplus, then what is the logic or the mandate for doing PPP kind of projects? So from our side, we were not against, we were against privatization of water as a commodity, but we also feel that these justifications which are being given can only be counted once you start getting into the data. And this is again for Malviya Nagar. 40% of the, I will not go into the details, but again it's saying there are very many ways in which the private operator is padded up for efficiency, which actually is being done by the government investments. And that is what we have tried to show here. So the logic of efficiency is always given, and especially to an international audience, we always would joke that, you know, this thing comes from the US, that efficiency, you get this done and you pay for it and you get it done. But for what purpose and for what end? That is what we need to ask, rather than just go for the logic of efficiency. And the efficiency logic which the government or the Delhi Jal Board utility gave us was all this, that it does water saving, it does cost saving, it has O&M efficiency, you get 24/7 water, therefore health outcomes and less contamination of water, but it is silent on the other two, equity and affordability. So those two, they remain silent. Now let's see their logic. Water saving. This NRW is non-revenue water, is a factor of leakages, free water supplied by Delhi Jal Board to the poorer colonies, water theft, and water supplied but not billed. Within the leakages, there are normal leakages and there are abnormal leakages. So with the best of leakage reduction, you still have 15% leakage in the system. So the logic of privatization was saying that there is more than 50% NRW in Delhi. And therefore, when we have efficiency, we will reduce it to 15%. Perhaps it's already 15%. The rest of the water is, like we've shown here, reduction in free water supply is not efficiency, it's not NRW reduction. Similarly, billing of water, which you are supplying, which is reaching to people, reducing that will not reduce NRW. Yes, theft is also being used. So the logic given by one of the protagonists of 2004-5 battle against this privatization was that if Delhi has 50% leakages, that's what they give to the public imagery, 50% of the water is wasted in Delhi, then actually Delhi would be flooded. There would be rise in water tables, and there would be water on the roads, because Delhi uses so much water, it's nearly 1,000 gallons per day. So if 50% is lost, then it should flow somewhere, which is not happening. So this logic of water saving, the private operator is protected for all the water it supplies, is billed to the DJB at cost. So any free water in the PPP project will be billed to the Delhi Jal Board. Incentives to reduce non-revenue water are linked to the payment, but does that actually imply water saving? That is the issue. All these figures are in Indian rupees, and all that we are trying to show is that if you look at the private operator water supply cost for the third row, Malviya Nagar, and the fourth row, Nangloi, these are the contracted rates. The first row in orange is the contracted rates. At 10.84 rupees per kiloliter is the contract document of the, is already higher than what the Delhi Jal Board is supplying. The same with Nangloi. In Nangloi, it's nearly 3 times. So we asked this question to the Delhi Jal Board people, and they gave us a reply after just last week, in fact, after about 2 months. And they said, it is, you cannot compare it like this, because we are providing 24/7. We are providing enhanced service delivery. We are laying down pipelines. Our return on investment is factored into this. But whatever you say, the issue is that O&M costs are likely to be higher for the water utility under the 24/7 PPP system. So let's accept that. And there is an annual 7% inflation adjusted for the operator for their revenue, which automatically implies that revenues have to be increased every year. So there is this kind of a very obvious discrepancies which lead you to ask, efficiency for what? So this logic, if you look at efficiency logic, we are looking at capital investment. In the PPP case of Delhi, 70% investment in infrastructure is by the government, 30% by the private operator. So when this is done, that is not considered subsidy. But if the government operates the utility, that is considered inefficient and a subsidy. When you go for operation cost, then if the government does it, that is wrong. But if it is given out, then that is efficient. Efficiency automatically does not mean equity, and provision of basic services is not an issue here. It's cost effectiveness.